Hello, welcome to EIU Conversation. I'm Jack Neal. With us today we have the president of Eastern Illinois University, Dr. William Perry, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening here as we start a new year, 2011, in this part of the world here at the university. And we're doing our first show. We're going to sort of do a bit of a tour of the campus, if you will, every semester or so when we put this show together. And we're at the Dounda Performing Arts Center today, an amazing facility, just truly world class. And we've got seating for about 600 here, but we don't have 600 here, do we, Dr. Perry?
No, it's just the two of us, and it's a great facility, as you say. Many of the performers who have come to perform here, who have performed all over the world, tell us that these are among the top 10 venues for them, and they want to come back. In fact, this spring, the On Trio is coming back for an encore performance.
Very good, absolutely. It's an amazing facility, and a lot of things that can go on, obviously, here, a lot of different venues.
Well, the great thing about the Dounda Fine Arts Center is it's really student-centered and community-centered. So many great things can happen for our students here in drawing, music, performing arts, costume design, set design, theater, everything. And it's just a real jewel for the region, the opportunity for the community to come and see the finest of performances, and at the same time it prepares our students for either careers in performance or careers in teaching. It's just a great jumping off point for our students as well.
And one of the things, sort of amazing things to me, that pretty much anywhere you're going on campus, you go through Dounda, and I love that, the idea that you're really sort of sampling the what we have here in the arts anywhere you go on campus, and I think that's a nice touch. I sort of have appreciated that.
Well, it is, and we try to take advantage of that every way we can. For example, we just had our Board of Trustees approve our Campus Master Plan update, and as you may know, there's a science building proposed for south of the Tarbell Arts Center. But it's going to be built on an angle so that as students come up from Carman Hall and Greek Court and walk through that area, they'll be funneled, if you will, along the edge of that triangle next to the sculpture garden at Tarbell. And then as they come up to Dounda, there'll be the sculpture walk, which has developed and you've seen, and then of course walking through Dounda and then on to the Union or the classroom buildings and so forth.
Is that kind of building along 9th Street, are you looking for that to sort of grow in future years? Is that becoming more of an EIU-centric area?
Well, I think with the placement of the science building there, we recognized a couple of things. One was that our student population is on that end of the campus, those students that live on campus anyway. Also, with the new Renewable Energy Center just east of Greek Court, there are going to be some connections between the Renewable Energy Center, the science that's done there, and the science that's done in the new science building. So for example, also at our most recent Board of Trustees meeting, the board approved the formation of a Center for Clean Energy Research and Education. Now we still have to get approval from the Illinois Board of Higher Education, but I don't think that'll be an issue. That provides great opportunities for us, for our students and our faculty, for research and education with regard to biomass and other kinds of clean and renewable energy. We have a company that's donating some solar panels to us for research purposes. We have land out there which we can plant as, if you will call it test plots for different kinds of biomass. And that connects us not only with our students and our faculty, but externally connects us to the school systems in the region. So no matter what age you are, you could come and see the different kinds of biomass. We recently got some funding for a research scale gasifier in that building. And so for our students in middle or high school who now have the capability to understand a little bit of the science behind it, they could come and participate in burning some different mixes of biomass. We could even have some competitions, you know, which school can develop the best biomass mix, get the most BTU per ounce or something like that. So I see that corridor from the Renewable Energy Center over to the Science Building as a place of continuing development for the university.
Let's talk a little bit about the Energy Center. Again, that's a fascination of mine. I came to town about the time it was starting to rise out of that area, and it's becoming phenomenal. But beyond a world-class supplier of energy for the university, As you said, a lot of research, a lot of teaching that's going to go on there, and again, even the opportunity to really use some of the byproducts from our area here of the various corn byproducts. Tell us a little bit about how that came about and where we are in the timeline to completion of that project.
Sure. Well, when I got here in 2007, and I knew coming in that we had a steam plant that needed to be replaced.
A little bit outdated.
Right. Whenever parts broke, we needed to have someone make new parts.
That's rough.
Some of the equipment went back to the 1920s. So the people of Eastern thought about this for a while and said, you know, I think we can solve this problem. We can replace this steam plant with a plant that will use renewable energy. We can make it part of a larger project of energy conservation around campus. And we can do this in such a way that we won't have to charge the students a fee. We won't have to ask the state for money because the state has been strapped for capital money. And we can solve a problem. Do more than solve a problem, we can get out on the cutting edge. And so that's the kind of energy that I knew was here at Eastern when I came, and I wanted to tap into. So you just kind of let people be creative and then see if you can work out all the details. And so it's come to pass. It'll be in operation next April. We'll run it in parallel for a year with the old steam plant, sort of a shakedown cruise, if you will. And then at the end of that time, the old steam plant, which has two parts. There's the brick part where the boilers are and the coal hoppers and all that. And then behind it, an old scrubber apparatus that doesn't work. So what we're going to do is tear out the old scrubber apparatus and repurpose the old building, the brick building, for student purposes. Before we do that, we're actually going to host a statewide emergency response exercise. We'll have perhaps 1,000 individuals from different emergency response organizations around the state, and they will come here and they'll do some activities out there in the scrubber apparatus area and a little bit in the brick area. Nothing will be torn up, but it provides a great locale for that kind of exercise. So that's part of our value of service here at Eastern, to try to use what we have and who we have to serve a wider purpose. So then we'll be burning biomass. We're going to start by burning wood chips, which will be waste wood from lumber manufacturing and so forth. But then we want to develop mixes of wood chips with other materials. So it could be switchgrass, it could be other kinds of reedy and woody grasses, or it could be something called green willow. It's a willow that grows quite fast. Or it could be pelletized corn stover. And it turns out, we've done the analysis, if we were going to use corn stover, we would need at most about 10% of the stover that's generated here each year. And we know that from a committee we've put together of folks in local agriculture and business and some of our faculty, it's important that that stover be plowed back into the earth. So we want to be sensitive to that, but at the same time, if only 10% if 10% is all we need, then to mix the biomass, then we're not bringing the wood chips or we're bringing fewer wood chips from further away and using more local biomass. So that's been a really positive development. You know, sitting here in the Dvorak Theater, this is another example of people doing a creative solution to an issue to build a fine arts center using the old building, because parts of this structure are the old building, but such as the theater here, but it's been redone in such a way that it's just awe-inspiring. For instance, the copper panels in the stage area here. So I think Eastern has always had this tradition of solving problems, but not thinking of it as just solving a problem, thinking of taking things to the next level.
There's going to be a lot of problems getting solved as we sort of work our way through there, and I have seen that in multiple projects. Let's take us back a few years. Let's go back to 2007 and your arrival at Eastern. What were your initial thoughts when you came here?
Well, before I arrived, just in the conversations with people on campus, I had a sense of deep devotion and loyalty to the university. And then when I got here, for the first semester, I met many people. We kept track of how many people. It was 1,000 people in these different meetings, both on and off campus. And it reinforced my initial impressions of EIU. There are four really fundamental values here that people ascribe to and really buy into. One is excellence. Everyone's trying to be the best they can be. And it doesn't matter whether you're a faculty member or a staff member or a student, you're trying to be the best you can be. Also, personal relationships. The first meeting I had with people here, it was real clear that the personal relationships were really important. That's what really makes EIU work as well as it does. And then service. Great sense of service. A part of that comes out of being a normal school and providing people who are going to teach, and that's one of the most wonderful ways you can serve society is by being a teacher. But also, as other curricula developed in other majors, we realized that it wasn't just to prepare people for a job, it was to prepare people for a lifetime of service to society. So that value very, very strongly in place as well. And then opportunity. Eastern should always be a place of opportunity, always has been, and really must always be. The first meeting I had, meeting with some members of the staff, I didn't know what they were going to say. I said, what's important to you? I'd prepped everyone with just a letter to the campus. And the first person who raised their hand said, it should always be possible for people to go to Eastern. And that kind of set the tone for the whole meeting and then many of the other meetings as well. So those four fundamental values of excellence and personal relationships, service and opportunity have just played out so well here. The development of an Office of Student Community Service, our numbers of students involved in service has grown, the number of hours in service has grown, and the appreciation the community has for that and the bridges it builds with us and the community. University community relations are critically important for every university, and that's also true for Eastern. We work with our Good Neighbor program because we have, after our students who are required to live on campus their freshman year, and many still live here on campus the sophomore year, many others then migrate to the community and live in apartments, and so they're out there in the community. We want to make sure that they're respectful of the community and are good community citizens.
Indeed. Let's talk a little bit about one of the, at least in my impression is, one of the problems you've had to deal with maybe in the last couple of years since arriving, and that is the economy. We're in probably one of the worst economies, or have been in one of the worst economies that has existed since Eastern's been here, a very long time. That has made, I would think, some decisions tougher to make in your position. What has the effect been of sort of a down economy for the last couple of years?
Well, one of the things it's done is it's strengthened our resolve as people in the Midwest, as people of a university of opportunity, just holding on to those values that we have to say, regardless of what the state budget's going to be and so forth, we still have to focus on excellence and personal relationships and opportunities and service. And so I've seen people come together in that. And so when we've had to make cuts or save money or pursue different kinds of opportunities to bring in more resources, people have really stepped up to the plate and done that. I've always believed that what you should do is focus on what you can control and what you can do. Influence people who can help you and forget about the rest. Now, forget about is too extreme, but you've got to set that aside. You've got to focus on what you can do. So, for example, we knew, and I knew when we got here, that Eastern needed to develop a comprehensive campaign for Eastern. And we've done that now. EIU, Expect Greatness, the campaign for Eastern. We started it right before the worst
Absolutely.
economy.
The timing was tough.
But in fact, we're way ahead of our goals in the campaign. And what has happened is Eastern alums and friends have said, EIU needs us, and yes, times are tough, but we're going to step up to the plate. We're going to help. And so this great spirit of generosity and giving among Eastern alums, maybe it's just perhaps by asking, it's kind of opened that opportunity for people to help us with scholarships for students, programmatic support, capital support, all sorts of ways that they've decided to help the university. So I think what's happened is the tough times have actually strengthened people's resolve. I happen to think it's a Midwest thing. I grew up in the Midwest.
Same here.
Right? And all those lessons our grandparents and parents taught us who went through the Depression, those things about hard work and thrift, those are lessons that we learned well and are serving us well now.
So you're saying then that the tough times really have in some ways helped get that campaign started as well as it has then?
Yes.
Interesting. Tell us a little bit, and we'll get a little bit back to some of the state funding issues as well, but a little bit about the campaign. What are the goals? Where do we see it going? What's the timeline for that as well?
Well, campaigns typically, when you think of a campaign for a university, you think of a dollar goal. Right. But we decided to do it a little differently. We have 3 goals in the campaign. One, first and foremost, is to continue to develop the relationships that we have with Eastern alums and to expand those relations, expand and deepen the relationships with alums and friends of the university. And number 2 is to build a cadre of volunteers, of alums who want to help us in so many ways. It can be from suggesting to us that we ought to have a particular student come to Eastern because they have a particular talent or something like that, or introducing us to someone who they believe wants to help us perhaps financially. So the more people we have helping us make contacts, we continue to grow the base of people who want to support Eastern. And then third, of course, a monetary goal, and our goal is to raise $50 million, and that's a combination of planned gifts, current giving, pledges, all that kind of support for EIU. So I guess you could say it's a $50 million campaign. But you should also say it's a campaign to build relationships. It's a campaign to capitalize on that fundamental value of those fundamental values of excellence and personal relationships.
And without the relationships, the other goals really can't be reached. So obviously, that is the key. Has the university had to sort of gear up staffing-wise to get in that? Well,
we did, and I mentioned that the first 6 months or so I was here, I engaged in all these conversations. And time again, the same subjects came up as things Eastern should do. So the conversations were kind of a strategic doing exercise. This spring we're starting a strategic planning exercise that'll run through the calendar year, and we can talk more about that either this time or another time. But one of the things people said is we need to raise more money. We need to get into fundraising and marketing in a bigger way. And so, in fact, we invested in those areas. And yes, we have staffed up in that area. But the results have been that we had a goal for the end of this fiscal year, for June, for the campaign, and we've already exceeded that 6 months ahead of time. So it's been resources well invested. Now, the other topics that people came up with that they thought were really important for Eastern were sustainability, and that's what led to that was another thing that led to the Renewable Energy Center. They also thought we should invest more in undergraduate and graduate research, study abroad, honors programs, arts experiences. Those are the kinds of academic areas that people thought we needed to focus on as well. So there were 8 areas in total, and we invested in those, and I think we're seeing the payoff on that. And it's not just because we invested budget money, it's because people believed that these were the important things to do. Now, we have challenges like every university: the globalization of higher education, competition for students, declining or flat state budgets. Those are the kind of broader issues now we're going to be discussing in the strategic planning that's going on this year under the direction of co-chairs and a steering committee, Bill Weber, Vice President for Business, Asege Halimarian, who's a professor in psychology, and Ken Baker, who is director of the Rec Center.
I'd like to talk a little bit, in fact, about a couple of those issues in our last 10 minutes or so in the program. And I do want to, probably not in this program because I know we're a little short on time, but the listening, I've been a part of that, as you know, since I've come to the campus as well. And I do see a lot of discussion going on that I think is a very positive experience. And I am seeing some of the results of those. So that's an interesting way that's being handled. Let's talk a little bit about students and attracting students in a very different world. When this university was originally founded, essentially it was almost geographically based where you went to school. And indeed, when we grew up, in many ways, there was a tie to the local school in many ways. It's very different now, at least it would appear to me, that we're competing with a much larger area of schools. There are a lot of schools out there that are really trying to attract students from a much wider geographic area. How does Eastern compete with that?
Well, first of all, let's don't forget that there still is a strong regional tie. I was talking,
Right.
Linda and I were at dinner the other night in Effingham at a Chamber of Commerce business gala, and at our table were a couple of Eastern alums, and their children were going to be coming to Eastern. And so they're very pleased with that. They see Eastern as a great opportunity, a great value for them. So there's that part of it. Also, about half of our students come from the Chicago area, our undergraduate students. So we have a strong draw there. I think everyone sees that when you look at the range of our programs, the class size, the excellence of our faculty, it's a very, very strong draw for Eastern. People like the small campus. They like our focus on personal relationships. Those are all very, very positive. But the competition for students in Illinois is growing. The number of students graduating from high school is not going to increase that much in Illinois, so we have to look more broadly. So we have worked on our tuition structures, our recruiting, our financial aid in ways to attract students from out of state and out of country. So for example, this last fall, our international undergraduate student, new international undergraduate students virtually doubled from fall before to this past fall. Similarly for our graduate students, and also comparable numbers are occurring this spring. Sometimes I like to think about doing things a little different. So we could be characterized as a Midwest regional university, but we have students from all over the world here. Every time we have a graduation, we hang the flags of the countries of the students who are graduating there, and there's always 12 to 15 flags on that north railing. I ask myself, can't we just leapfrog from regional to international university? Do we have to go through becoming a national university first? I don't think so. We have something very special to offer here to anyone who's interested in an education. So we are looking at many different markets for bringing students here, but the one thing that we make sure of is when we recruit students, we're looking for students that have a certain level of accomplishment and we believe will be successful at Eastern and that Eastern is the right fit for them. So we're going to continue to work on that. I think like all public universities, more and more of our operations are becoming more like private universities. Private universities have always lived and died on enrollment. Public universities have had a luxury of a lot of state support. Now that that's on the wane, we know that student population is important, enrollment's important, so we're starting to pay more attention to that. Right now, I think our enrollment's in about the right spot.
So you're comfortable with where we are?
Yeah, I want to continue to keep it at that level. I want us to always be a place of opportunity. I want us to always be attracting students to our honors college. So it's not protecting the status quo, it's I think we're the right size. Let's shape our classes so that we continue to be competitive, not only here, but internationally, and then we'll fill in the national gap later.
Indeed. We always hear the issues with the state economy, and we're down to the last maybe 3 minutes here. What's your prediction for the next year or so, next couple of years with the state?
Well, I think that the members of the General Assembly are working hard to solve the problems that we have. They have always been supportive of higher education. They have certain tools to work with to assist us. I think we're going to see over the next 2 or 3 years some changes in the spending patterns of the state. Clearly, they've already said something about the taxation rates. I think they're going to have to see what impact that has on a number of issues. But I think what you're going to see for higher education is that we're going to have to continue to be more efficient. We're going to have to continue to be high performing, and we're going to have to continue to make the case to the state that universities are a public good. Yes, every student who comes here, they have an advantage after they graduate. But it's not just a personal good, it's the societal good, because those students who we graduate are going to be members of a communities, they're going to be serving as well as holding down jobs and building careers. So we have to continue to make the case that we're integral to the future of the state of Illinois.
And that really is the case that you're making every day in Springfield, or often, I should say, in Springfield, I would think.
We continue to point out that we have strong graduation rates, retention rates, that our graduates go into all fields in the state. We're a very strong provider of teachers for the public schools, that we're a strongly performing institution, and we believe that that is of great importance to the state, and that's why all higher ed should be funded, but in particular EIU should get some special advantage.
We have no argument with that at all.
Right.
In our last minute or so, anything that you see, and again, we'll be talking again each semester, in the next few months before we get to that next program, anything in the last minute or so that is going to be happening that the folks watching might want to know about?
Well, the strategic planning exercise is going to be moving forward. We will have open forums and town meetings on that. We will be involving the community as well as the university community. So that will be moving on. You'll see in April we will be starting up the Renewable Energy Center. We'll probably have an event surrounding that. We'll continue, of course, with our community service. But I think strategic planning is one of the big things that you're going to see happening.
A lot going on and a lot of opportunity for folks to be involved as well. Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to Dr. William Perry, President of Eastern Illinois University, and we do hope that you will join us again for an EIU Conversation in the coming months. Till then, have a great day.